their apology, they can shove their apology up their ass. Hemi Panarin definitely looked like he got his mojo back. He got an assist. I was wrong. Big. And isn't it ironic that my intro that Mark recorded has a clip of me saying I was wrong, and I was wrong again this year? Seems to be a nice little trend that I have going. But anyway, welcome back to the final buzzer, the final buzzer of the season. And I have some guests with me. Joining me from Rangers Central, I have Matt and Evan.
What's going on, everyone?
This has been a very interesting series. And I have also with us Stat Boy Steven.
Yes, let me quickly mute my phone before we get interrupted by my morning texts.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that.
Shout out, Anthony.
And now Matt and Evan do Met streams and now hop on. You guys are getting love here, man. I love it. Support these guys and their channels. Steven is with the Philippies as well on his channel. So if you guys are not subscribed to these guys already, make sure that you leave a like for them and do so as well. And subscribe. So let's get the business here, though, boys. Florida Panthers. Repeat. And they win 4-2. What are your guys' thoughts on this series? I'll start with you, Matt.
I mean, I picked them to win. I picked them before the start of the final, and I picked them to win before the start of the actual playoffs. So, listen, I'm not too surprised. I said going into the playoffs that, and again, me and Evan have brought this up before, but we said before, really look at all the first round matchups, and I said, and we both said that, the winner of Florida and Tampa was going to go to the final. And obviously, Florida ended up winning that series, and they ended up going to the final because the East, pretty much for them, was just a cakewalk. And then, Edmonton was certainly going to give them a challenge. And I mean, listen, there was a bunch of reasons why we all said that it was going to be a challenging series. Obviously, the big reason was just how much better improved defensively the Oilers were coming to this series, and a big part of that reason was, not only that McDavid and Draisaitl were both putting up points, but the fact that they really committed to 200-foot hockey. But in the end, it didn't matter because Florida is just that good of a team to where, and I've said this before, they could play any style of hockey and they'll come out on top because they are that good. They are that perfectly constructed and they know how to play hockey the right way. I said this before, but Florida could beat you in 3 ways. They could outscore you, they could shut you down, or they'll outgrind you. And that's what they did to Edmonton. Because when you look at all these games, right? Obviously, Edmonton took 2 out of the 4, or they took 2 out of 6, and they ended up coming back with that historic comeback in Game 4, where no team had was down 3-0, and then they ended up coming back. But really, the thing that killed Edmonton was they played from behind every single game in the series. I mean, they only led for 20 minutes of the series, and against this Panther team, that's a recipe for disaster. You're not going to beat them playing like that. Way too undisciplined at multiple points in the series, and as I said, for me, I was talking to you about this, Phil, before we went live. But listen, for me personally, and other people will have different opinions because obviously I'm only 21 years old. I was born in 2003, so I never got to watch the 80s Oilers. I never got to watch the 90s Red Wings, play live at the 90s Penguins. But in my opinion, the Florida Panthers as Stanley Cup champions, for me, they play the best brand of hockey that I've ever seen. And the thing about them is they're not done. They're still going to be here for a long time. Their cap situation, after next season with Bobrovsky coming off the books, that's going to improve. And their core is still in their prime. A bunch of these guys are 29, 28, 30 years old. So they're not going anywhere. And this could very well be the start of something special. But congratulations to the Florida Panthers on winning back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Evan?
Yeah, I definitely was wrong as well. I picked the Oilers to win the series in 6. And the thing that annoys me is the fact that I fell for it because the entire way through, I said it to Matt and I kept saying it that whoever came out of that Tampa-Florida series would win the Cup. And then I kept doubting Edmonton every series. I said they would lose to LA, and then I said they would lose to Vegas, and then I said they would lose to Dallas. And once it got to the Cup, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go against what I've been doing the entire time. I think they're actually going to do it and win. And the Panthers, I don't know why I even doubted the fact that they would win for a second, because this team, the team this year is way better than they were last year. And it showed. It was very obvious. Like, they really could have easily won this sooner than in 6 games. And I would say that this is easily the best team in the salary cap era, because I saw some of the comments about it. I would say that this is, like Matt said, the best team that I've seen in my life. I mean, just all 4 lines that they have and their ability to just bring guys in and buy into the brand of hockey that they're playing, no matter who it is. It's something that I'm jealous of. It's something that I'm so jealous of. And, congratulations to them on that.
Steven.
Yeah, I also picked the Oilers to win. And I said the Oilers need to score first, because if they don't, it's tough against this Florida team. I was surprised how good Reinhardt was, because he wasn't really that great the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. He really was the difference on offense for them. Scored 4 goals tonight. This was, by the way, this was the Oilers' first elimination game, first game facing elimination in the playoffs. They had not faced elimination in any of the 3 rounds before. So, yeah, tough break for Edmonton, but these were by far the 2 best teams in the league. I don't think anyone in the West, I said this last week, I don't think anyone in the West can beat the Oilers, and I don't think anyone in the East can beat the Panthers. And to Matt's point, this is a team that has young contributors up and down the lineup. They can, the players that they need to replace, they can replace them, because they have a really good scouting system. Their pro scouts are doing a great job at finding the players that buy in. Seth Jones, did anyone expect him to play this way for the Florida Panthers? No.
Well, I did, just because it's the Panthers. That was the only reason why.
Yeah, I did say that Jones, in a role where he didn't have to be the guy, could just go be a guy, and that would probably be a load off of his shoulders.
Yeah, but
I didn't think he would play this well, but I definitely think he would have improved over Chicago.
He plays a completely different style with Florida than he did in Chicago or Columbus or Nashville. So that's the buy-in. Players are buying into the system. AJ Greer, Gadjevich, Adam Boak. I forget which one it is. Is it Adam Boqvist or Jesper Boqvist?
Jesper.
It's Jesper there.
Because they had both earlier in the season, and I think Adam moved on.
Adams with
Adam
the
went to
Islanders,
the Islanders,
now.
Yeah. So the players that they brought in, like Nate Schmidt, for instance, a 10-year veteran, played for Vegas before. The players that they bring in just buy in right away. And can I also mention that I love the fact that Barkov let the players that had not won a cup before hoist the cup first before everyone else?
That's a leader.
I love that.
That's a leader.
See, if you're a Ranger fan and you watch that, you understand why I'm saying don't make anyone on the current Rangers team captain, because we don't have captains. We don't have leaders. We have players that are slightly better than others. Yeah. But the Florida Panthers have everything, man. They have a general manager that knows how to build a team. Roberto Luongo is a huge part of that front office. He is like invaluable to them. They bring in the right players. They have them play the right style of hockey. Paul Maurice has finally found a team where he can actually have success, because he's been around for decades at this point. I don't know which team is going to beat Florida next year, because Sam Bennett's gonna stick around. I'm pretty sure he's not going anywhere. They still gonna have Verhaeghe, Barkov, Tkachuk, Reinhardt. On defense, Ekblad's probably gonna be gone, but their expectation is that Seth Jones is his replacement long term. Then they still have Mikola Balinskins was also really good for them this season. Compared to expectations, I don't know where they find these like replacement level guys, bring them in, and they just play the role perfectly for them. It's kudos to them.
The work of Sonny Meta. He's a big part of that. And I also want to bring up the point that Matt has brought up numerous times of why they are not going anywhere. Bobrovsky's contract is expiring, I believe, after next season.
Yes.
So, and he's going to be making significantly less on that next deal. That's just going to open up way more cap flexibility to build in front of him. This team is not going anywhere.
Or watch this. They're going to find a reclamation project goalie who will step in and give them adequate goaltending behind that juggernaut team, and they'll continue to win.
Either or. I mean, Bobrovsky's next contract will probably be cheap either way. So, I mean, either one would work out.
This is really it. It's culture, and it's easier for players to come and buy in when you know that the culture and the message gets you the win. Mm-hmm. That's how you know things work. It's like the Yankees in the 90s. Like there was a culture there, and there was a message, and you checked your ego at the door, and everybody went to work, and they had their role, and they knew what was expected of them. And that's what the Panthers are like right now. And Maurice has them playing a certain way. There's a mindset that they play with. They go out there and they wear you down. Was that fourth line scoring a lot of goals? No, but they were going out there and they were wearing down everybody they played against. And even if Barkov and Reinhart couldn't score a goal, what did they do? They were out there wearing down McDavid and Draisaitl. Not the 90s Yankees, buddy. Not the 90s Yankees. 2000s, sure. Not the 90s. Different story.
But Phil, I think we also need to talk about how this dynasty that they're building has been put together by more than one general manager. And I'm not talking about the general managers before Bill Zito. I'm talking about the general managers around the league that have been giving players to the Florida Panthers for basically
Forsling for nothing, Reinhart for next to nothing.
So Forsling was claimed off waivers.
Yep.
Verhaeghe was signed as a Group 6 UFA after Tampa did not give him a qualifying offer.
Drafted by the Islanders, went through Tampa's system, didn't stick with Tampa despite establishing himself as an NHL player, and then goes to Florida.
Yeah. Sam Bennett for a second-round pick and Emil Heinemann, who's no longer in the league.
Yep.
Sam Reinhart for a first-round pick and
Devin Levi.
Devin Levi.
Devin Levi, who they weren't going to use in Florida anyway. A conditional second-round pick for Marchand that's turned into a first. A conditional first-round pick for Seth Jones, and Spencer Knight, who they weren't going to use anyway. Like the general managers around the league have done a really good job putting together this Florida team. Last year they got Tarasenko for a fourth-round pick with retention.
It's just been the right players at the right times for them, and they've all come in and contributed because there's a core in place, there's a message there, there's a clear direction and a style of play that they want to play with, and it's easy to buy in, and that's why these parts can come in. Like Detroit was probably the last team I saw like that. I mean, Detroit from 1992 to 2012, like you could bring in guys and they were going to win and they were going to be one of the top teams in the league every damn year.
And,
but they had a core in place.
Yeah, the Red Wings team of the early 2000s, I know it was different. It was before the salary cap, and you could just restructure contracts, and it was just a financial thing, not a cap thing. But in the early 2000s, multiple players on the Red Wings renegotiated their contracts, took less money, so they would have the money to bring in, I think it was Brett Hull.
Brett Hull in 2001, yes, and then Luc Robitaille as well.
Yeah. So the players, if you want to talk about buying in, that doesn't happen today because you cannot restructure contracts in the salary cap. But in terms of the attitude, the Florida Panthers remind me a lot of the early 2000s Red Wings because of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Such a imagine being a player, right? Somewhere in the league, your general manager gives you a call and he goes, "You've been traded to the Florida Panthers." How quickly do you pack your bag?
Oh, you right away. No hesitation.
Like smile to your face, right?
Yeah.
or if you're drafted there, because you could be
Yeah.
a late round pick and you'll probably hit. This is why I find it hilarious when there are fans, like not just Ranger fans, but fans around the league, especially Toronto fans too, when they're like, yeah, we need to replicate what Florida did and get all this size and grit. No one, that's cute. You're not replicating this. You're not, because you have to establish a culture as well. You need a GM that is going to be able to replicate those type of moves. You need a coach that will establish the culture, like I mentioned. You need a better pro scouting system than the rest of the league. You need a better junior hockey scouting staff than the rest of the league. So call me when there's a team that does it better than Florida, and I'll entertain the conversation.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why you have to give this front office so much credit. And I was talking to Phil about this, but the amount of turnover from the supporting cast of this team over the past offseason, and the fact that they still went on to win another cup, it's impressive. Because I mean, the core of the team is still the same, right? Kachuk, Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Bennett, Forsling, Ekblad, guys like that. But look at how much of the supporting cast around those guys changed. I mean, they lose, and again, not all these guys are like, world beaters, but still, they're valuable parts of your team. You lose Ekman Larson, you lose Lomberg, Stenlund, Brent Montour, guys like that, and then you find these other guys on these type of deals like Nate Schmidt, Greer, Nosek, and then they come in and then they just fit the mold and the system of the team so well. It's like, it's so impressive how that front office is just, they know what they're doing, and it's so clear because a lot of teams, like a lot of times, usually like after teams win, they have a lot of turnover on their team, but this Panther team and this front office, they know how to replace these guys. It's simply incredible.
Yeah, and if you look at their lineup, right, it's Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Reinhardt, same as last year. Rodriguez, Bennett, Kachuk, same as last year, and then Lusterina and Lundell and Marchand. Marchand comes in, and I don't know if you heard if you heard Sam Bennett talk about Marchand after the game when they did the on ice interviews.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the game here in Ireland was the Sportsnet feed, so they showed the Sportsnet interviews on the ice after the game, and Bennett said about Marchand, he's the biggest dog I've ever played with. Like, he's the epitome of a leader. This guy came in and everyone respected him from day one, and he made us better. The guy that scored 15 goals, 13 of which were on the road, said that Brett Marchand made him better.
Yeah, I mean that's the type of impact that a guy like Marchand has on a team, though. He's got that cup winning experience. He won a World Cup of Hockey in 2016 with Canada. I mean, this guy's won at like just about every level he's ever played at, and this guy's just a big game guy. So
was he on the Four Nations roster this year? I don't think so.
He was.
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure he was.
He's won that too, then.
Yeah, I mean, this guy he has a presence to him. I just think that I don't think there was a case for this. I don't think anybody was beating Bennett. I'm sorry, but I mean, this stat is insane. Reinhart with a 4-goal game becomes the 6th player in NHL history to score 7 goals in a Stanley Cup Finals series, with Big Di, Al Skinner, Mike Bossy, John Beliveau, and Wayne Gretzky being the other 5. I mean, yes, 4 of the 6 came in the one game, but like you said, Steven, before, with that injury, it's just like he got better as the playoffs went along. Like he was recovering from it, and that's really what impresses me most about that. Not the fact that not really just the fact that he got to this level and had this crazy game, but the fact that as the playoffs went along, he didn't start out great, obviously recovering from an injury, but he got better and better as the games got bigger and the opposition got better, which is just
and also I think getting through the conference final in 5 games gave him more time to recover.
Yeah.
And at this stage, even 2 or 3 extra days to recover from an injury could be huge.
Yeah, it's insane to think about that. like he was coming back from that series of an injury, and you're just like, okay, like where do they go from here? And then he just has that. But you're talking about Marchand, and you talk about the dog and the leader that he is. I mean, he joins Mario Lemieux as the second player in NHL history with 2 different Stanley Cup Finals series in which they scored 5 or more goals. That's impressive to me, especially at his age this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, this Florida team is phenomenal because when the top guys aren't contributing, the rest of the lineup makes up for it. Our Barkov, I think, didn't have a point in the final until Game 4.
Yeah, you know what? I thought he was good defensively. I just didn't think the offense was really there.
The offense wasn't there, but it didn't matter.
It didn't matter
because Lusterinen chipped in and Lundell had a goal, and AJ that fourth line was a menace. By the way, can 2025 be the year where we forever stop referring to Barkov as underrated?
Yeah, I was gonna highlight a comment before. Like, yeah, Barkov's not underrated and hasn't been for a while.
But Barkov has not been underrated in years. If
he hasn't been underrated in years, man, it's been a very long time since that.
If it wasn't for Bergeron, he would have won 6 Selkies by now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because the guy is so much better than everyone else.
Can the Devils compete with them? No.
Wait, are you talking about the 2003
Panthers? No, there's no way the Devils can. No. Not definitely.
There's not a single team in the East that could compete with the Panthers, as far as I'm concerned. Again, I have to see it to believe it at this point. That's where I'm at.
And the only metropolitan teams that Florida will face are the conference final and maybe the first round if they go up against a wildcard team.
I think the only team that really could honestly give them a scare at this point would be if Tampa got super aggressive this summer, and overhauled like their entire like bottom 6 and their defense. Like if they managed to pull off some crazy shit,
but even then
probably could.
But even then, it's a big question mark.
It's still an if.
But
like they would have to get really aggressive and make some real game-changing moves.
Yeah, and I know this doesn't really make us feel better as Ranger fans, but it does put our conference final against this Florida team last year into more perspective. Like, of course, I'm still disappointed that we lost to them, but I'm not as upset as I was because we were never going to beat this team.
No, I was not. This and Tampa in 2022, I was
not your best player.
I was not upset about either because they were not beating either of those teams. Like they weren't good enough, and this ties back to the conversation of why I really do not care if the Rangers trade Panarin, because when I look at a team like Florida, I would rather a team that is deeper and puts up and has guys that put up like 60 to 80 points than have a top end team or a top heavy team rather of guys that disappear in the playoffs with low producing depth players that are overpaid as well. Or you just don't pay the goalie, and that also helps you build a deeper team in front. And I get Florida has Bobrovsky making double digits, but again, we just brought up the point that you're not replicating those waiver fines. You're not replicating those reclamation projects that they hit on.
I'm sorry, but I don't even think Bobrovsky was one of the 6 or I honestly think he's probably the 7th most important player on this team.
Yeah, but Phil, all Bobrovsky had to do was be better than Stu Skinner.
Well, that's really what it comes down to.
And that's a low bar.
And that's why I said Edmonton could win if Stuart Skinner was just competent. All he had to do was be competent, and he wasn't competent again. And that's I mean, is that the only difference maker? No. Yeah. I mean, anybody saying that Bobrovsky was the difference, I'm sorry, but you're completely wrong on that. Because not only was Stuart Skinner subpar, but Barkov, Lundell, and Bennett all did a hell of a job on Draisaitl and McDavid.
There is a huge difference, and you can't just compare cap values and cap hits of Igor and Bobrovsky and say, okay, see, if Bob can do it, then the Rangers can do it with Igor. No, it's two totally.
No.
different things.
Pull up Kenny's comment. Pull up that comment.
No. But at least let me
This one, right?
because
Yeah.
the thing with Florida is not relying on Bobrovsky to carry them. It's like I said, they have a good team in front of them. They have guys like Barkov.
This was the difference right here.
They have guys. Yeah, exactly. They have 3 lines. You can just go through all 4 lines throughout the whole single game. And again, you're not relying on Bobrovsky to win you a game and to win you series and to ultimately win you a cup. No, he's part of it, but again, you're not relying on him. The difference is the Rangers are relying way too much on Igor to put him over the top. And again, you are not going to win a cup like that.
No, but Matt, this has been the Rangers' way for
No, I get that.
2 decades now.
Yeah, they built around a goaltender for 2 decades, and they haven't learned their lesson.
And that's why they won't win.
It's not going to change anytime soon. The biggest thing for me is not just this, which Kenny's right about it. It's the top 3 lines and a better decor, but it's the style of play and the fact that Florida is built to play playoff hockey. Like, look at their leading scorer in the regular season. It was Sam Reinhart with 39 goals and 81 points in 70 games. He was one of 3 point-per-game players. Barkov had 71 in 67 games. Tkachuk had 57 in 52 games, obviously with the injury with the 4 Nations. But, like, there's no 100-point scorer there. There's no 120, 130-point player. It's just a well-balanced lineup that goes out there and knows what they have to do come playoff time and wears the opposition down. They're hell to play against, and that's why they win.
Pull up the comment, though, again from before.
Evan, hold on. If you look at the lineup,
Kenny's comment. I'll get to it after. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, if you look at the lineup and you look at the cap hits too, like the way this team is constructed, the Rangers are paying $3.25 million for Carson Soucy. They are paying $2.5 million for Nico Mikkola. They have Lustarin and Rodriguez on the cap for $3 million each. Anton Lundell is signed for 5 more years at $5 million. The Rangers are not constructed to compete as a team where you rely on the goalie. It's just the team in front of Igor is not.
This comment is so right here. I mean, Igor is nowhere close to Hank. Yeah. And if Hank couldn't do it with a deep team in front of him in 2014, what makes anyone think that Igor is doing it with this team anytime soon?
That was my point when they gave him the contract.
Yeah,
I said it too.
2014, we had a better forward core than we have now.
Much better one.
Yeah. And the point that I was going to make before, with the comment about Panarin and Mika with the money they're making, and then with Igor, like, that's exactly the point. You can't have that much, and that's why I'm tired of hearing, but how are you replacing Artemi Panarin's 120 points? The guy doesn't show up in the playoffs. I do not care. I want a deeper team that's going to win the 16 most important games. I don't care about having – you don't win in the playoffs that way. You just do not. Once you get deeper and face these teams like Florida and Tampa that have 3 lines that they can roll out, a solid 4th line to wear down the other team, and then 3 good D pairs, you're not beating that just because you have a 120-point player in Artemi Panarin. It is that simple.
That's why for me, like, and this was earlier in the season, and now it doesn't matter because Brady Tkachuk isn't getting moved. But when there were those discussions,
that would have been a game changer.
When there were those discussions of, is who's better, Brady Tkachuk or Artemi Panarin? Okay, you could say Artemi Panarin might put up more points in the regular season, but again, if I'm trying to win a Stanley Cup, if I'm trying to play the right type of hockey that is needed to win a Stanley Cup, I'm taking Brady Tkachuk over Artemi Panarin every single day of the week. And that's not even a question, because, okay, fine, maybe Brady Tkachuk doesn't put up as many points as Panarin, and maybe you don't win, and maybe you don't get as many points as you do in the regular season. But I know that Brady Tkachuk, come playoff time, he's going to be involved in every single puck battle. He's going to be forechecking every single time. He's going to be back checking. He will get into those dirty areas. He won't be just located on the perimeter. He'll actually use his speed, use his strength to get to the middle of the ice to make effective plays. And that is the big difference. And again, you saw it in the Four Nations. Look how good Brady Tkachuk was in the Four Nations. He was one of the driving factors along with Matthew Tkachuk. And again, listen, I know that Brady Tkachuk hasn't, hasn't proven it yet in the playoffs yet because he's only had the one run so far with Ottawa. But keep giving this guy more opportunities in the playoffs. Let Ottawa build around them. You're going to see what Brady Tkachuk can do in the playoff time. And that's why, for me, like I said, it's no debate. 24/7 every single day of the week, I'm taking Brady Tkachuk over Artemi Panarin.
He's a leader too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're comparing him to McDavid, who shows up come playoff time and has scored 75 points over the last 2 postseasons. I mean, which puts him in rare air with only 2 other players. But it's you need a certain type of player that can raise his game when the games are the toughest and most tightly checked. Artemi Panarin is not that player. He puts up sexy regular season numbers because in the regular season, it's easier to attack the middle of the ice and get those shots off. He's not getting that in the playoffs against tougher teams. And honestly, the one series that he's really been a difference maker in New York has been the Penguin series in 21-22. And that's really been it.
And the sweep against Washington last year.
But he wasn't even that good in that series. He wasn't the best player on the team. I mean, you could argue that he was the best player in the Penguin series. I don't think you can argue that he was the best player in the Capital series because Zibanejad was the guy that was all over them. He had like over 2 points per game in that series.
Yeah. And what it comes down to with this team is that, in the 2010s, you had a couple of deep runs. You made it to 2 conference finals. You made it to a Stanley Cup final. That was nice because we were coming out of, a tough era where the only highlight was basically Jagr putting up franchise numbers in the regular season.
Yeah.
Following the lockout and the dark ages where we missed the playoffs for 7 years. And then you go through a rebuild. You have another Cinderella run that ends in the Eastern Conference final against Tampa. Then last year you win the President's Trophy. Now it's either win a Stanley Cup or it's a failure. And yeah, I don't know if we want to turn this into a Rangers talk now, but this offseason for Chris Drury is going to be so important. And
we'll get to that in a little. There's something that I want to highlight in a little bit that came up. But to get back to the Panthers here, I mean, they tied an NHL playoff record, having 6 players, Barkov, Bennett, Marchand, Reinhart, Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe, with 20 points in a postseason. That ties you were talking about this before, Matt. You didn't get to see these guys. The 84-85 Oilers with Glenn Anderson, Paul Coffey, Wayne Gretzky, Charlie Huddy, Yari Curry, and Mark Messier all had 20 points in one postseason. That's insane. That just goes to show you the depth that they have to be able to pull this off in the modern day hockey right now. Something that a team, the highest scoring team in the highest scoring era did. I mean, that's a testament to just the depth they have and all these guys just buying in. And you know what? You can do this. It's funny because I remember saying that when you get a guy like Artemi Panarin, guys their chests come out a little more because, we've got scoring punch now. But it's now guys go to Florida and their chests are like, yeah, I can play this type of hockey and I can go out and I can bang bodies all day and put people through the boards and then go and score goals too. And that's literally what's going on here. I mean, if Bennett comes there and he becomes this playoff god, Marchand comes there and turns back the clock 10 years. Reinhart comes there and becomes one of the better two-way players and goal scorers in the game. Barkov, we don't even have to talk about Barkov because he's been that good for a very long time. Yeah. But I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, 100-point player in Calgary, comes to Florida in a big trade, changes the entire culture, and then one of the biggest reclamation projects in recent memory, Carter Verhaeghe comes off of a freaking scrap heap and then becomes one of the best playoff goal scorers in recent memory. So it's just it's just a buy-in. It's a culture. It's a feeling, and they have it there. They really do. And
yeah.
go ahead.
Phil, you know what makes it really impressive looking at that 84-85 Oilers team?
What about
They
it?
only played 17 games in the postseason that year.
And Gretzky had 17 goals.
Yeah, you have 6 players with 20 points when your team has only played 17 games. The Panthers this year played a total of 23. Imagine how many points they would have had if they didn't beat Tampa and Carolina 4-1 in their series.
I can't even. Yeah, I can't even imagine. But another similarity that I see is both the Panthers this year and the Oilers in '85 had the leading playoff goal scorer. Yard Curry set the record with 19 that year. You want to know how many of those goals were at even strength of those 19?
How many?
16.
16.
That's crazy.
16 of 19 were at even strength. This is not a power play merchant. Sam Bennett, 11 of his 15 came at even strength.
And also, he set the NHL record for most road goals in a postseason with 13.
Which is crazy. I mean, it just they had all-time level depth. Like history making depth. I think this helps to a point, but yeah, there's a winning culture there, and there's a message and a buy-in, and there's probably a sign that says, check your fucking ego at the door.
Yeah, listen, I have said this for so many years now because it came up when Tampa started winning and then Vegas won, and now Florida has 2 in a row. Does it help that your players don't pay state income tax on their home games and their signing bonuses? Sure. It's not the reason they're winning. Because if it was, why was Florida not in the Stanley Cup final before in the salary cap era? They win because they have a front office who puts the right people in the right places, who hires the right people, who acquire the right players that buy in, and they have built this team up like I've never seen before. Gustav Forsling becoming one of the best defensemen in the league as a waiver pickup. That's disgusting. Whatever Florida, the only way you can replicate this, what Florida just did, is if you completely take over their front office and then hope for the best.
Yeah.
And I again just to put into perspective, simply the difference with the culture. It's the way you have guys like Barkov who rub off on Lundell versus what the Rangers have, where Panarin rubs off on Lafreniere. Just look at the difference there. And you brought this up the other day, Phil, and it just came to my mind, that thought now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did bring that up because it's absolutely true. I will say that Lundell is geared a little differently from a guy like Lafreniere. Lundell's game has always been a two-way type of game. Lafreniere has never been that type of guy, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you have to have good leadership in that room. And I really can't get over the fact that this team for as long, you know what? I don't even want to talk about that because I don't want to make this about the Rangers. I don't.
Phil, I have a question for you. Since the 95 lockout, how many players have scored more goals in a single postseason than Sam Bennett this year?
Claude Lemieux had 14 that year, I think. So that would be a no. Sakic had 16 in 96.
He had 18. That's one 18, of them.
Sorry, that's right. He was one short of Curry. That's right. Fedorov's highest was 12. Yzerman, I think, his highest was 10. Since 95.
Former Maple Leaf.
Former Maple Leaf had one. Not Sundin, because he only got to the conference finals in '99. That's the farthest he went. I'm gonna kick myself because I'm gonna know this too.
Yeah,
And I'm blanking right now.
it's when I tell you who it was, you're gonna be like, oh, of course. He was drafted by the Florida Panthers.
Drafted by Florida and became a Maple Leaf. And this was in one postseason, right?
If you give away the year, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
A year I'll probably end up getting it.
His parents built him a hockey rink when he was a kid.
That's not saying a lot, because there's a lot of them that it's not Owen Nolan.
No,
I know that because Owen Nolan never played for Florida.
Very recent.
Very recent. Former Leaf.
Oh, was it Kessel?
No, Kessel. No,
it was last year.
Verhaeghe.
No.
Reinhardt. No, Reinhardt wasn't.
Zach Hyman.
Zach Hyman had 16.
Oh, that's right, Zach Hyman. Yeah, 15. Shit. Duh.
Yeah. Joe Sakic and Zach Hyman, the only players to score more than Sam Bennett this year since '95.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. And I mean, lastly, I don't know if anybody's gonna know this line or what song this is from. Matt, you might know it actually. You're a Megadeth fan.
Where do we go from here, and should we really care?
The end is finally here. God have mercy.
What album?
Countdown to Extinction.
No, I can't. I can't. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Ashes in Your Mouth.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
The last song on the album. So, yeah, where do the Florida Panthers go from here?
On vacation.
Well, obviously.
To Disney World.
Yeah, we're bringing up Megadeth. Deal with it, David.
Look, where the Florida Panthers are going from here, I don't think it really matters. They are going to try and keep Sam Bennett. Their other UFAs.
Try to get Corey Perry off Florida.
Corey Perry has now lost 5 of the last 6 Stanley Cup Finals, by the way.
Yeah, that's an insane. I don't think there's anyone that's done that in the modern era otherwise.
No. So yeah, their UFAs are Brad Marchand. Imagine if he just goes back to Boston after winning a cup like Vermette in 2015.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Bennett, I think Nosek is staying. Why would he leave?
I mean, here's the problem. So they have 19 million even in cap space according to cap wages. Bennett's a free agent. Nosek's a free agent. Mackie Samoskevich, who had 31 points this year, is RFA. They're not letting him go.
No.
Marchand and Nico Sturm. Nico Sturm's gone.
Also, worth noting for Samoskevich, he is not eligible for an offer sheet, so there's no leverage.
He doesn't have arbitration, and AFP Analytics is saying 2 years by 1.323 million.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's easy enough. But if you want to bring back Bennett, you want to bring back Marchand, and you want to bring back Samoskevich, then you likely have to let Nate Schmidt go and Aaron Ekblad go. You need a backup behind Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how they bring back everybody. That's the
No. I'm pretty sure Ekblad is gone, and Seth
Yeah.
Jones is their contingency plan for Ekblad. That's why it was brought in.
Okay, but so that defense is now Jones, Forsling, Mikola, and Kulikov, like Belinsky's. I don't think I trust him on the bottom pair. Nate Schmidt was probably gone. So who are they bringing in for that bottom pair?
They will find someone. I'm not
They'll
concerned.
bring in Zach Jones.
Zach Jones.
Yeah, no, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna get Zach Jones, and he's gonna turn into a legit third pair defenseman for that team. And they're gonna take Arthur Kaliev from us, and he's gonna score 30 goals next year in the top 6 randomly for that team. That's just what they do.
Look,
Watch.
for 3 years in a row now, Bill Zito has shown that he knows who to target, and the team that's in place with the leadership core they have will make sure that whoever joins the team is never going to take a shift off.
Yeah.
If I was a Florida Panthers fan, I would not be concerned at all.
Not at all, yeah.
No.
Does that guarantee a third cup? Probably not, because winning 3 in a row is incredibly hard. Tampa was very close. Tampa couldn't get it over the line against Colorado for the 3rd in a row. But Florida is going to be a very good team next year. They're going to be competitive.
Absolutely.
They're probably going to be a shoe-in to make it to the Eastern Conference Final, and from there, anything can happen.
I could see. You know what? Maybe they go out and they get a couple of, again, reclamation projects. They fill in that bottom pair, and then they go and they make the big deal at the deadline for an defenseman on an expiring contract, and then they're right back there again.
Phil, if you look at the ages, right, and Matt alluded to this earlier, Barkov is 29, Kachuk is 27, Reinhardt 29, Verhaeghe 29, Lundell 23, Lusterinen 26, Evan Rodriguez 31 is the only forward under contract over the age of 29.
And they could move Evan Rodriguez if they need help, and there will be teams that'll line up to take him.
Yeah, but Evan Rodriguez at $3 million is not going to be an issue. Sam Bennett is 28. He's going to get a lot.
Harju. You know what's funny? I could see Yoki Harju going there, and then ends up being really good for them.
Really good.
Or this is another one. Dante Fabro is going to be available.
Yeah,
but Dante Fabro is going to probably cost something close to what Forsling is making.
Yeah, he's going to get a little more. Like, I could see them more in the market for, like, a Nick Hague or someone along those lines. And then all of a sudden, they're just good at moving the puck, which is something that he's not particularly good at all.
They'll get next year at the trade deadline if Nashville's bad again. And again, he's still going to have another year left on his contract. They'll probably target Ryan O'Reilly. And again, that's a guy that perfectly fits the mold of the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah.
That would not be fun.
I think the only question mark in terms of their forward group is, does Anton Lundell want to stay in Florida if Sam Bennett signs long term? Does he want to be the third line center for the next 5 years?
The only thing is that maybe Bennett moves to the wing at some point. That could be a selling point there.
And that is Sam Bennett can play wing. I mean, and then they'd have to do is at that point you could probably maybe even keep Rodriguez. And then I don't know.
I mean, by then you would maybe put Bennett on the wing where Rodriguez is now. Lundell moves up to the 2C, and then you replace the 3C a different way. That could be the other option there.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that are going to be available. I mean, I think that could be it too. You know, Bennett moves to the wing as he gets a little older, and you know, you have Lundell. I don't see why Lundell would want to leave, and I'd imagine they'll probably have that discussion with him very, very soon. I mean, he doesn't strike me as a me first type guy, and
and he's Finnish. Like, Finnish people are notoriously selfless. Like they will never complain. They'll never speak up. They'll just They'll just do what they're told. It's in their nature. I don't think he's going to complain, but yeah, he is signed for 5 more years at $5 million. And if they can keep him around, that's a steal because he's only 23 years old. He's gonna get better. If
God,
you see how he's playing now in the Stanley Cup Final in back-to-back years, man, that's something.
I just went through contracts and I totally forgot that this guy has 1 year left on his deal, and he's only making $4.75 million. And Buffalo's gonna suck next year. Imagine they get Alex Tuck at the deadline, and you insert him into that lineup. That's scary.
Might just happen this offseason.
He would fit that team like a glove.
Oh yeah, he plays the exact game that they want to play too, or that they do play, I should say, and that would be a scary fit. They have the assets to go do it. Okay, you know what? They could go and they could offer Samoskevich and a first, or like a future first, and they could get that deal done. And Buffalo, I mean, they're going to want somebody that can come in and contribute sooner than later. Samoskevich is a guy that could come in right now, probably play in their top 6, and has room to grow. So that's literally like the perfect trade for them.
That would be a 2029 first round pick then, Phil.
Probably.
Because they don't have any until then.
I mean, does it fucking matter, though?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
I remember after Tampa won their second cup in 2021.
Buffalo, but Samoskevich is not a future, David.
Kevin Adams is also a dumbass. Like, that's the other thing we're not even factoring into this equation.
Kevin Adams could he'll fleece himself on another bet. Oh, let me hold on to Eichel, not give anybody his medical records, and then fucking trade him to Vegas for nothing for Peyton Krebs, who was an overhyped prospect to begin with.
Yeah,
I never thought that guy reminded me so much of Curtis Lazar as a prospect. And then he turns around, he ends up flaming out. I mean, they got nothing out of that deal except for Tuck.
In the next couple of years, they're gonna get rid of Tuck, they're gonna get rid of Peterka, they're gonna get rid of McLeod, they're gonna get rid of Owen Power because he's not happy.
You want to do third line center? McLeod would be their guy. Holy shit, would he fit in Florida?
But in terms of draft picks, it doesn't matter. When you win cups, nobody cares about draft picks. I think it was 2022. The draft in 2022, the Lightning had 2 picks. I think it was a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick. After they made their selection in the 4th round, they packed up and left. Their table was empty by the start of the 5th round. They didn't care. They weren't going to make any deals. They weren't going to draft more players. They weren't going to do any business. They just left.
That's beyond point. That's beyond the point, though. We all agree on. I think we all agreed that Adams was just handled the whole Eichel thing horrible. If we mention Eichel in front of Mark and Adams, I think Mark might whip out the Ebola list. The whole fucking Chris Jericho. You just made the list and fucking scribble his name on the fucking clipboard.
I mean, Phil, you have to understand that general managers are not hired based on competency, but based on connections.
Well, that's all right. So
we figured that out.
I'm not going to say this entire league is nepo, but there's a lot of nepo in this league.
It is. It's 95% nepotism.
Yeah, I mean, we figured this out the hard way, unfortunately, with that one. But we figured out that, you don't have to be competent to be a GM.
What the, Christy?
I'm not highlighting that one.
And you also don't have to be competent to become the head of scouting for the Rangers. Just need to marry the daughter of the president.
Oh God. Yeah, that's another. Yeah.
No, but nepotism is a real issue, and we see it with the Rangers now too. Like nepotism is more than just like giving family members jobs. It's using pre-existing relationships to get ahead.
And that's really what it comes down to. It's because a lot of this is, it's the old boys club. Let me just invite my friends instead of going out and getting the right guys for the job.
Brock Kessler, welcome aboard.
What?
I think our entire coaching staff played for BU at the same time as Chris Drury.
Yeah.
Yes, I think aside from I think Sacco.
Sullivan was in the NHL by the time Chris Drury was at BU. Quinn was drafted in the 80s. He was like a first-round pick in the 80s. But it's all BU connection, and that's the problem I have. It's again, I don't want to make this about the Rangers, but the Panthers have done it the right way. The Panthers were the team that went and they got a whole new staff when you thought things were going right for them. What did they do? They took a chance and they revamped their entire staff. They made a culture changing trade that changed their entire makeup of their team. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a different story. There's no nepo there. It's higher based on merit, higher based on what you want to do.
Yeah. And Roberto Luongo,
100% sharp, 100%.
Roberto Luongo is a guy that was given the job and then proved that he could do it. He wasn't just given the job because he was a former player.
Oh, you mean like Mark Stahl or Tanner Glass or Jed Ortmeyer?
Yeah.
They took a risk and they loved it with the Huberdeau trade.
I mean, this is kind of funny and ironic in a way, but unintentionally, Bailey is right. Like the Lightning, shoving them around for that short amount of time really kind of it made Zito go and make that deal, and that's what happened. And Zito. All right, so for everything that we could say about Chris Drury being bad, and I totally agree with a lot of it. Chris Drury can identify problems. He can't fix them.
But the only thing is, if you want to finish,
go ahead.
But the only difference is, Bill Zito was quick, and and once he noticed the problem,
quick and calculating,
he went right away and he fixed it. Chris Drury, on the other hand, saw this team get completely smacked around by Florida, decided to run it back, and then wait till a disaster of a year to finally make changes. Which I always say, they should have started making changes after the conference final. What did Florida do? What did Bill Zito do? After they got swept by Tampa 2022, they said, okay, this style of play is not going to work. We need to make some changes. Boom. Let's make a trade. Let's bring in Kachuk, and let's bring in Paul Maurice. And now we're here. And now we are here with them winning back-to-back cups and going to 3 straight finals in a row.
They got whipped around by New Jersey too. I mean, that's when it should have happened.
That's when I said that they should have made the changes.
Yeah,
they should have started making changes after the Jersey series, because if the team has to go and cry about the coach to the general manager in the middle of a friggin' playoff series, your leadership is shit.
Yeah,
sorry, it is what it is.
And to make the conference finals and then get whipped around by a team that hadn't made the playoffs in, what was it, a decade at that point? Maybe even over, to get whipped around by that team as well. I don't know how that wasn't the wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, you lost to a friggin' scrub minor league goalie that you didn't want to shoot high on. Like, there was a scouting. He was terrible gloves high, and what are they doing? Shooting low, shooting low, shooting low. Like, what are you doing?
And that same team has won only 2 other playoff games outside of beating the Rangers. They've won 2 playoff games.
I just, what? I'll say this: Drury can identify problems, but fixing them is another story, and that's really what it comes down to. Zito identified the problem, was quick and calculating, went and made all the necessary changes, and here he's got 2 cups for it. Good for Bill Zito. Guy's one of the best GMs, if not the best GM in the game right now.
He's the best.
Yeah. He's got to be the best. He won 2 cups in a row.
Yeah, I'm still a little upset that we lost to the New Jersey Devils with a goalie who has not played in the NHL more than in the AHL in a single season. He's been an AHLer literally every year.
Yeah, and yes, Anthony, this is a copycat league, and that's what he's trying to do, but it's easier said than done.
The the copycat league always reminds me of John Davidson in
This
2000.
right here is everything. And Rachel, I watched the Locked On Senators mock draft today. They had 8 different like big name guests come on, and including like Stephen Ellis, Rachel Dory was on, and Rachel Dory like said it best. Like the Rangers are the absolute hands down worst organization at developing forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And she right away she just pointed to Capo Caco and Alexei Lafreniere being top 2 picks and not even being like legitimate top 6 forwards.
Not even close to their
Not
to their
even close.
expected-
Like it
output.
is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
But Phil, we've been over this, and I've told you stories, right?
yes.
About players being suspended for wanting to spend time with a family member that just had
Yeah, you've told. We won't repeat those, but yes,
all these stories about players just not wanting to come to the Rangers, like family members that are disappointed that their son was drafted by the Rangers. It's embarrassing.
I would be disappointed too if I was drafted by the Rangers.
I'm disappointed that I was made a fan sometimes of the Rangers. So that's too funny though.
Yeah, that's
and
literally what I just said, Bluegrass. That was literally what I was saying before.
Yeah, this is not a Chris Drury problem. This is a New York Rangers problem because it goes back 25, 30 years.
You're right. And you're absolutely right. And I mean, Chris Drury is a guy that, I mean, I don't understand how great, you can identify the problem. So your solution is to go full Nepo and bring in a bunch of Boston guys because you think that's gonna change everything. I mean, listen, I try to be as positive as I can be, but the solutions that I'm getting here and what looks like is their problem solving method for everything just it doesn't fly with me.
Yeah, but Phil, it's the same problem with roster construction. Drury is great at identifying the problem, but he sucks at fixing it. He identifies the problem with Jacob Trouba, he gets rid of him, and then invests all the money we free up in Will Borgen, Carson Soucy, and Ura Vakanainen. Pavel Buchnevich in 2021, he wanted $6 million or whatever it was. They trade him to St. Louis for a second-round pick and a fourth.
You do need a competent goalie. You need a competent goalie, and a competent goalie can get hot.
You do. Like Chris Drury, I love that he identified that Carson Soucy is a problem 3 months after he traded a third-round pick for him. I wish he identified it back in March before he made the trade, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I wish we had pro scouts to tell him that Carson Soucy's bad.
No, like I said, he's great at identifying the problem. He just sucks at fixing it. He's not fixing anything.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that's been fixed, and that's the issue. It's just identify. Okay, fine. Yeah. So Chris Kreider is gone. Okay, he needed to go. Understandable, but I mean,
I can't even say though that he identified the problem because the problem has been they are relying on goaltending to win them games, and he extends the goaltender to the deal he does.
Yeah,
so I can't even say he fully identified the problem.
No, he definitely did not identify the problem there. I mean, they should have traded him.
The rest of the group, great. Like he's identifying that the rest of the group isn't good, but he should have identified that they can't rely on the goaltender to mask those problems.
I wish he identified that he probably could have gotten a first-round pick for Will Borgen at the trade deadline, but here we are with a 5-year contract and a full no trade clause. Yippee!
But they moved Capo Caco, so we gotta sign him.
And also, he signs Patrick Nemeth to a 3-year deal. A year in, identifies that it's not working, so he gives up 2 second-round picks to get rid of him. And who does he replace?
You two are laughing at. You guys are.
Oh no, we're laughing just at what Steven's saying.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at.
Yeah. So, but who did we replace Patrick Nemeth with? Anyone remember?
Was it Eric Gustafsson?
Yeah.
No, no.
Oh,
I was
no.
going into-
Oh,
In 22-23,
are you talking about mid?
with?
Wait, are you talking about mid-season or the next season?
No. At the start of the season, the 22-23 season.
Fuck, who? Oh, shit. Who's on the fucking roster? Fox,
I don't
Lindgren,
know.
Truba Miller,
Minority, we had
Schneider. Who was
No,
Schneider's
Mikola was
teammate?
brought in at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
That
Who's-
wasn't. That
It
wasn't
was
the
it
start
was
of the season.
it was Ben Harper. Ben
Oh,
Harper
that's right.
was the solution.
God damn. Oh
You're-
man.
Replace Patrick Nemeth.
You went someone who was probably maybe even worse than Nemeth. Quite possibly.
I thank God every day that Chicago Blackhawks claimed Jared Tenorti off waivers at the start of that season, because I don't even want to know where that would have gone.
No. I mean,
He doesn't fix problems. It's a general manager that does not fix problems. And we don't have a second round pick this year and next year because of Patrick Nemeth, who hasn't played for the team in 3 years.
It's funny how they brought in Nemeth to nurture Nils Lundqvist, and then Nils Lundqvist was gone a year later.
not
Well-
even. He was gone in the middle of that season.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but I mean, because you traded.
No, I
him
know you
in
mean with the
October.
trade.
Oh,
I just meant
yeah.
like he was.
But also the single dumbest reason why they got Nemeth is because they're both Swedish, so they'll get along.
And then both of them were gone.
That's not
there's
how,
a point to make
how
to
people work.
bringing in players of a similar country that are fellow countrymen and so on, but you've got to do more than just that to insulate young players.
But Phil, you remember this? Do you remember who helped Capo Caco adjust to life in New York?
It was Brendan Smith.
Brendan Smith. Yes. You don't need to have the same nationality to get along.
No,
It's
you
like-
don't. But that's why I'm saying there's more than just
Yeah.
doing that to insulate a player
Yeah.
like that, and they didn't do it.
No. There's
I mean,
nothing.
Here's what I don't get. If your leadership is so damn strong and so damn good, then why wasn't Mika Zibanejad taking him under his wing? Why wasn't Chris Kreider doing what he could? Why was it that Philip Hedl was the one guy that was hanging around him constantly? And why weren't the older guys bringing those guys both under their wings?
Because they're not leaders, Phil. That's the simple answer. We see this all the time with the Rangers. When Capo Caco comes over at age 18, they put him with the Billet family for year 1, and then at age 19 they go, well, you're on your own now.
Even with the veterans, remember, like with Nico Mikkola here, all we heard about is how he had a great relationship with Kakko. Why was that not with the rest of the group? Why did we not hear him anything about the veterans getting along with them? It was just Kakko.
Listen, I get that Capo Caco seems more of like a bit of a wallflower, maybe a little bit of a loner, but I just don't get why there's not more of an effort to have more of a team. All right, so I'm gonna go, and I know this is nothing because it's like beer league and like tournament and travel level shit that really doesn't matter, but the teams that I've played on that have been good teams that have actually won are the teams that actually like hang out and spend time together and have like some sort of connection, because you get there and everything is there's a sense of camaraderie, and it hasn't been here. With Florida, it seems like everybody is with everybody, and everybody supports everybody. And look, I mean, the greatest thing,
They were going to Dairy Queen.
Instead here we just hear. I feel like with the Rangers, all we hear about is these guys in individual groups. Like you have a Mika and Kreider group, you have a Trocheck and Miller group. Like what is this, high school? And Kaylee too brought up a good point that Brodzinski's the guy that we heard about being like one of the better leaders in this room, and that was an AHL guy to start the season.
Yeah, well, not only that, but there was a special on MSG where it was Will Cooley sitting with Brodzinski, and Cooley was talking about all that Brodzinski does for the young guys and did for him in Hartford and all this other stuff. and we don't have any other veterans that can come in and do that. I mean, in
Nope.
Florida, the greatest example I could point to with Florida is what you were talking about before, Stephen, with the whole Marchand is a dog thing and what Bennett said. Bennett fucking sucker punched the guy, and then he comes in, and now they're buddy-buddy. Like it never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Like when you have that type of chemistry and that type of energy in that locker room, you're going to win. And that's what's needed here in New York.
To give you an example of the camaraderie that's missing, back in 2022, we were in Minnesota for the Ranger game, and by pure coincidence, we were staying in the same hotel as the Rangers. We just booked a random hotel and turned out to be the same hotel. So then the night before the game, we were sitting in the lobby, just meeting up with some people, having a couple of drinks, and one by one, Deliveroo drivers, or food delivery drivers would walk into the lobby, drop off food, and one by one, the players would come down and pick up their food that they ordered, and then they would go up to their room and eat. Like there was, like it's like they didn't even know each other. It's ridiculous. You would expect them to
Eat as a group.
Yeah.
eat as a group, go out to dinner
Go
somewhere.
out to
You
dinner.
You could rent out a freaking conference room in one of those hotels and order food and eat
seriously.
together.
Yeah. But no, one by one, all the players came down to pick up their food and go back up.
This is why, like, I don't want them naming a captain. Like, there is no captain. Trocheck's not a captain. Miller, there was issues in another organization, and Adam Fox, just because he ate a tub of ice cream and watched Brian Leach like we did, and ate a tub of ice cream and watched Henrik Lundqvist play a goal like we did, that doesn't mean he's captain material. Like,
Evan, you can be a leader too.
MSG like he did.
He is not captain material.
Evan, you can be a leader too. Because you did the same thing Adam Fox did when you were a kid.
I mean, it's crazy to think about. I mean, we've talked about, I just want to bring this up real quick. I don't know if anybody else, I know I sent this in the group DM before we got on, but Frank Saravalli is reporting that 12 to 15 teams are reported interest in Keandre Miller. So,
which third pair defenseman are we getting in return?
Yeah, what is the return?
Cap dump it is. But no, I don't know what they're going to get in return for Keandre Miller. I'm not going to be excited about it because we still have Vakanainen and Susi on the left. What's the point?
You got to get rid of both of those guys, and you got to go out and
an extension is still the most bizarre to me.
Go.
Isaac Howard is a guy that I would seriously inquire about with Tampa.
Yeah,
for the Rangers.
What I think Tampa is going to target Peterka, and Isaac Howard's going to be part of the package.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking. I think they're getting Peterka. I don't think it's going to be us. I think that because we heard that Buffalo wanted Howard at the deadline and potentially as part of a package to get Alex Tuch when Tampa inquired about that. So there's interest there.
And when it's all said and done this offseason, I wouldn't be shocked if the only two departures are Keandre Miller and Chris Kreider.
That's what my prediction's been.
And there's not going to be an overhaul. They're going to essentially run it back with a different coaching staff with minimal changes, and we're going to have a disappointing season. And everything's going to be blamed on the coaching staff again.
I don't know. I do think he wants to be aggressive. I don't know how aggressive he can be. That's the issue.
No, but he wanted to be aggressive last summer, and he ended up extending Ryan Lindgren.
That's because Trouba fucked everything up.
Yes, but he didn't act when Trouba was sabotaging a trade. He should have.
I agree, but I think he's learned from that lesson, though. And something that tells me that he learned from that lesson is the fact that he dealt Kreider as soon as he did.
Mm-hmm. But what are we going to use the cap space on? Which overrated free agent are we getting?
Brock
I don't
Besser
know.
because he's friends with Miller and Trocheck.
You know what? That makes a ton of sense. A nepotism signing to utilize the cap space we saved
Oh,
up by
God.
trading Kreider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem. It's like no matter what they do, like moving Keandre Miller to get young players and picks would be cool.
Yeah.
Moving Kreider to dump the salary is cool, but I really do not care until I see what they do with the rest of the roster, the holes they have to address.
And at this stage, I wonder if we ever see Adam Fox with a better partner than Ryan Lindgren in his career.
I think they're gonna get. It depends if you think Provorov's better. I think they're getting one of Provorov or Gavrikov.
I
I'm
think
convinced on that.
I think Gavrikov is the one that they really want, but Gavrikov would be the best defensive pairing Adam Fox has had, and vice versa.
Well, yeah, and again, the bar has been in hell.
Yeah.
I mean, Miller is so up and down. Like, you don't know. And everybody's going to say, oh, well, in those 500 minutes they played together, their expected goals for was amazing. And that they were so great. Like, when you watch the games, you could see that pairing was leaky defensively. Sure, they could generate offensive chances, but they were leaky as hell defensively. And then Lindgren, as he went along, got worse defensively, got slower because his body couldn't take it anymore.
And Phil, small sample size arguments are like highlight reels on YouTube. You can put together a highlight reel of Tanner Glass's goals for 5 minutes and make him look like a star. Talking about Miller Fox, when they've played like maybe 500 minutes together, maybe. How indicative is that really?
No, it's not. And that it's literally, it was like the first month of the season. And then, I mean, I get it. Lindgren coming back kind of submarined what they had going. But just as Evan and Matt were saying it, and Evan was screaming from the fucking rooftops, like, this team was so flawed during that 14-2 start that they had, or whatever the exact numbers were. They were giving up chances left and right, and Shesterkin was bailing them out.
Or
and
they were just playing poor teams. Or they were playing poor teams, and like we talk about all the time,
what, two or three wins against Detroit?
3 wins against Detroit. They had the opening night win against Pittsburgh. I think they beat one team that ended up making the playoffs during that stretch. Actually, maybe two, because Montreal made it. But Toronto was the only other team that they beat during that stretch. That is it. And a lot of it was, like you said, getting bailed out by goaltending. And again, not playing good teams, because when you're playing not good teams, yeah, you're giving up high quality shots, but they're not from good hockey players.
I always said from the start of the year, I will always point back to that Montreal game where they won 7-2. I'm like, cool, they won 7 goals. Watch back that game and tell me how many high danger chances they gave up and how many times Igor bailed them out. That was one of the worst played hockey games I've ever seen this team play. And I don't care that they scored 7 goals. The amount of defense. No, I mean, I'm
No. I'm talking about Christie's comment here.
Oh,
some NYR fans, some. I think we're being very nice there, Chris.
And I said right after that Montreal game, I'm like, yeah, this team is, it's the same. And not even it's the same as last year. It's worse than last year. And the holes were there. And again, they didn't choose to change anything. And eventually, it was going to catch up with them. And what happened? It caught up with them, and they tanked.
For me, it was the home opener.
I don't think McTavish is going anywhere, and Kyle Connor is definitely not going anywhere. I don't know where you're getting that from. I really don't. I think Kyle Connor is staying in Winnipeg. I don't.
This Rangers team, Matt, is only good when their power play is top 5, and when their goaltender bails them out on a nightly basis. That's it. This team has been shit 5-on-5 for almost a decade now.
Yeah, it's not good.
I've said this for years, Phil. You've heard me say this. They no sustained pressure, unable to clear the zone, and no transition. The only scoring chances they create are off the rush.
And what have I been saying for years as to why their 5-on-5 offense has been terrible? One word. One word. It's where it all starts. Breakouts.
Yeah, they're terrible breakouts.
They are probably the worst fundamental team, the fundamentally worst team in the league at breaking the puck out of the zone.
Yeah.
They have no understanding of how to do it. I hope Sullivan can change that, but I mean,
I don't think that you
there's
can.
there's only so much he can work with. Phil.
Yeah, I don't. It's what you said, Steven. It's just like you get one of the best chefs in the world, shit ingredients. And
Yeah.
the other thing I was going to point out too is all I think about still is that comment that you made after the kid line had that shift against the Lightning in game 1 of the conference finals, when you're like, it's sad that we have to hype it up because that's the only time the Rangers actually showed sustained pressure throughout the entire playoff run.
It's been 3 years, but that's one of my best comments on Twitter. Yeah, because no one has proven me wrong yet about that. It's been evident that's a problem. And look, I think the biggest challenge for Sullivan is coaching a team that doesn't have any leaders, because having a guy like Sidney Crosby on your team in Pittsburgh for a decade definitely makes it easier to coach that team, because you have someone on the ice who is basically an extension of you as a coach, who talks to players on your behalf, who is forwarding your message. Who on this Rangers team even talks? Is there anyone on this Rangers team that talks on the ice? No. And after the game, when we lose a game, I mean, you should watch the post game interviews with the Benny Hill tune underneath. Like, it's
oh god, yeah, that'd be perfect.
it's so bad. Like, and this team doesn't have enough players that hate losing.
I mean, yeah, and that's the other thing when I look at the Florida Panthers and why they won. They caught lightning in a bottle, not with just Verhaeghe and Forsling, but Reinhart too. Remember, like when they won in 2014, Forsling, Reinhart, and Verhaeghe had a combined cap hit of under 14 million. Like, try to find me another example of 3 players that were on a third deal or later in their career that made under 14 million combined and gave you that type of level of production. You can't do it because it hasn't happened in the cap era. It hasn't.
No. The closest thing the Rangers have had to a good line in the playoffs is the third line in 2014.
Yeah, Brassard, Zuccarello, and Pouliot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that line was really, really good for them.
And I tried with the whole, coaching change. I wanted Gallant out, and one of the big reasons why I wanted Laviolette in here was when you looked at the stats, the 5v5 stats of all the teams he coached, relatively, most of his teams were top 10 in 5v5 play. So I'm like, okay, let's see what could happen. And it was there for about 2 months of the season, and then it just completely went away. That's why with Sullivan, listen, I know his teams play good 5v5, but just because he was able to do it with that Penguins roster doesn't mean that it's going to be replicated here in New York, and I don't expect it to.
I don't know how much Sullivan can do for this team. I like Mike Sullivan. I think he's a very good coach. I think he did a hell of a job with the lack of depth he had on a roster that was poorly constructed by 2 different general managers in Jim Rutherford and Kyle Dubas. A roster that should have been rebuilt like 4 or 5 years ago. Should have been rebuilt. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of right about this, Nick. Sullivan on a sinking ship. But this right here is the reason why I do think that Drury is going to be more aggressive this year. And he's really going to make a concerted effort to do so. Because Sullivan, you don't bring in a guy like Mike Sullivan who wants a specific type of player, who has his guys play a specific type of game, and then you don't surround him with those type of guys. Will all the changes be made in one offseason? No, because that's impossible. It doesn't happen like that. Even the Panthers, it didn't all happen in one offseason. It happened over time. So I do think that he's going to be aggressive. He's going to make maybe a couple of few moves, maybe that can help change things up a bit. Because again, I if you're going to tell me that you brought in Sullivan and you know the type of game that he plays and the type of game that he wants his players to go out there and bring on the ice every night, and you're not going to give him the tools to do it, what the hell was the point then? Why not just keep Laviolette and tell the players, hey, you know what? You're going to have to deal with it. You wanted to cry and whine and quit? Well, you know what? Because since you guys can't go anywhere, you know what? You're going to be stuck with the same coach and you're going to deal with it. Because that's what James Dolan basically said when he gave Drury that extension. Fuck you. This is how we're running it. If you don't like it, there's the door. Don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out.
Fox said it wasn't a coaching thing.
I mean, the only thing I'll say though, and like I get like what you mentioned, how Bill Zito, like it didn't happen all in one off season, but it happened relatively quick. The thing with Drury is, okay, like fine, he could want to change the style of play and bring in the guys that Sullivan wants. He has a relatively short time period to do it because you have a ticking time bomb in Igor Shesterkin, who, whether we like it or not, he's going to be increasing in age, and he's still going to be making $11.5 million. And that's a ticking time bomb because
you don't. It was a bad idea
because you don't know when he's going to fall off the face of the earth and just become an overpaid goalie that puts up average stats. And we've seen him when he's gone through his rough patches, how bad he could be. So that's the thing. Because at least if the Rangers didn't extend Igor and they traded him, okay, fine. At least.
But what? Who said that this had the potential to become a Henrik Lundqvist Part 2 situation in 5 years? Who said that?
I mean, we all said it.
If this is not you, it's a terrible story.
Well, I mean, I know I said it for sure. I'm pretty sure you guys probably did, but I said it and I got a ton of shit for that.
Oh.
Yeah, we all got shit for
it's a ticking time bomb, whether it's a ticking time bomb whether people like it or not. And again, if he didn't extend Igor and traded him, okay, cool. At least now you have a longer period of time to actually change around the roster. But you only have so much time now before, before Igor ends up aging, and then he ends up being, like I said, an overpaid goalie who puts up average stats. Yeah. And then you're really screwed.
By the way, I'm gonna sign off in a minute, but I have a final question to leave you with. After tonight, there are six active players in the NHL with 3 Stanley Cups. Can you name them?
6 active with 3 Stanley Cups. So Maroon is not technically. Is he still active?
No, he retired.
Okay. Well, so Crosby, Malkin, Letang.
Yeah, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang are all from Pittsburgh.
Verhaeghe won his 3rd tonight. Yeah.
Verhaeghe. Wait. Well, Verhaeghe. Hold on. Verhaeghe. Because Tampa Bay 2021 or 20?
2020.
Or 2020. Yeah.
They won it with Tampa in 2020.
No, Rodriguez wasn't with Colorado when they won.
So we have 4. We have just 2 more.
2 more.
Well, Patrick Kane. That's 5.
Patrick Kane. That's 5.
Does Taves count because he's making a comeback?
No, Taves doesn't count.
No, Taves. He's not on a roster right now.
Yeah, that's true. I just wasn't sure because he's technically posted as a free agent right now.
This is probably like a backup goaltender too.
Jonathan Quick.
Oh, Jonathan Quick. There we go.
Yeah. You said backup goaltender. I was like, oh, Quick.
I love how Matt said backup goaltender, and I could see in his eyes he got it, but you beat him to it. Jonathan Quick won 2 with LA, and of course the 3rd one with Vegas.
With Vegas, yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna leave you guys to it. It is 5:50 in the morning here. It's already light out, so I'm gonna have some breakfast and start work, and then probably take an afternoon nap. So,
All
It was
right.
fun
Have fun,
talking to you
Steven.
guys. Season's over. We're gonna do the draft soon, the draft preview
Yeah.
soon. So looking forward to that. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
All right,
gotta
Steven.
Okay, Steve, thanks for coming on with us.
See you,
Appreciate it.
Steven.
I gotta start doing my film study on that.
Yeah, I gotta start studying up. I've done nothing. for the
Continue to
draft.
study a trade.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna. So, I mean, to keep everybody in the loop here, we're going to do our mock draft and pre-draft preview on Monday. So the draft is on not this upcoming Thursday, but the following Thursday.
Friday.
No, it's the first night is Thursday.
Oh, I thought it was Friday.
No, it's Friday. It's Friday, and then Saturday's the day 2.
Hold
That's
on,
what I thought.
because I looked. All right, so
It's Friday night.
Either way, what a quick turnaround.
It's the 27th.
why? So I checked before, and something online said the 26th was the first night, which was
Yeah.
a Thursday, which is weird because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's saying 27th. Okay, so the 27th, which is Friday. Thank you very much. Time to wake up. Appreciate that. But yeah, I'm gonna I we'll have that together and we'll do that Thursday, Monday, and then we'll also be live streaming on Friday for the first round. Second round, I don't think we're gonna do. Just I have stuff going on that day, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But we are also going to have a free agent frenzy stream as we usually do on the first. I don't know what you guys are doing. I think we'll probably talk about that and see what's going on. Maybe we'll do what we did this past
The
year.
deadline. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The other thing we do have though coming up is the buyout window, which will be interesting. I don't know do you guys have anyone that you think is going to get bought out? Because I've been trying to think about that, but I honestly
for the Rangers,
just around the league in general.
yes, Barry Kotkaniemi.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely getting bought out. I'd be shocked if he's not bought out. Because his buyout, he falls under the 2/3, the 2/3 clause because of his age. So, like, if you buy him out, like if you go on cap wages and you buy him out, his cap hit for next year would be 850, 850K, 833 or 833. Sorry, and then the next 3 years would be 470,833. The next 3 years, and then the final 4 years would be 858,833. So it's definitely a very easy buyout for them.
I mean, it's not a big contract, but I could see Detroit buying out Tarasenko.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
I could see Detroit.
I feel like that's more of a second buyout window thing, though, because I feel like they're going to want to try to trade him first and see if they can get something, and then they'll buy him out if they can't find a trade partner. But at the same time, they might want to get the cap space now.
I don't think they're going to find a trade partner for him.
They might have to attach an asset like they did with Wallman.
I don't think they want to do that, though.
Oh, God,
I mean, he had 33 points last year, this season, 11 goals.
Well, what's his buyout look like? That could be
his buyout's very friendly.
Maybe that's the route they go.
It's if you buy that contract out,
they save 3.1 million
next
year. And then and then they're charged for 1.5 the year after.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy buyout for them. I would definitely I mean, they could also bury him too. I mean, that wouldn't hold on, let me check it on Wikipedia. This cap wages is being kind of funny right now with something.
I think Connor Sheary could also maybe be bought out. Just Tampa needs to open up room.
All right, so Tarasenko's buyout, just to get this ad out of here. What the fuck? Go away. All right, so where's the buyout there? Wow. Puck Petey even gives you the type of stick they use. That's crazy. Let's see what the buyout would be on Tarasenko. Yeah, 1.583 for 2 years. So that's you could do that and you could get away with that. Maybe they try to trade him, but where's the interest going to come from? Who's going to want a 33 going on? What's that?
I was just gonna say, like, the thing is, there could be a team. That's why I think, like, I know you're saying they don't want to, but if they really want to clear the full cap, I think San Jose could be the team again to take an asset and then just take him for a year, see if they can flip him at the deadline. Worst case, they just let him walk in UFA. That's the type of situation I think it would be. Not necessarily with San Jose, but I just think that's what it would be.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that they would want to take a guy like that, because that's not even a productive player anymore. And he's not even that productive in Detroit.
Yeah,
He's
but if you get a free pick.
But what pick are they getting for that? Because it's not a big contract.
Maybe just looking at their draft picks, maybe they trade they have 2 thirds this year. Maybe they package one of those thirds with Tarasenko. I would be interested in that if I was San Jose, because then you could have a Wallman situation where there will be a team desperate at the deadline, and you're not going to get what you did for Wallman, but you could get assets back along with taking an asset to get the contract.
Yeah, it's not a terrible idea for San Jose. I mean,
I get what you're trying to accomplish, but I have trouble seeing it with Tarasenko because of the age, the injury history, and the mileage on him. That's the problem. And not only that, but I don't feel like Tarasenko is really a playoff performer anymore. Like 2019 Tarasenko is a different story, obviously. That's still like prime years. But like his shooting shoulder has had 3 surgeries on it now, I think. So and he's not a great defensive player by any means. Not that he's terrible. I mean, he's not like dog shit Carson Soucy. But like at the same time, I don't know. I just think with his age, maybe there is a market for him. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But I don't know. I have trouble seeing it. I could see him getting bought out. I really could, because the buyouts were not that bad.
I think it just depends how much cap space Detroit really wants to work with this offseason. Because if they have plans to sign like a big name, then they're going to want to clear the full cap. Otherwise,
they have 21 million already.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst to buy out, but I guess you have to remember too that the year after that is also in effect. And I feel like they might want to save room. The other thing is they might have to save room to buy out a guy like Andrew Kopp after this season, because that could be a buyout candidate.
Yeah, I mean that could be. You're right about that. That could be a buyout candidate.
JT Compher's another one too. That's a bad contract.
That entire team.
I don't know if Compher is as bad as Kopp, because the going rate on like middle 6 players that can get you like 40 plus points is gonna be in like the $5 million range. So that's kind of like what he is.
I think you could retain like $500,000 to $1 million on Compher, and that's better than buying him out. That's what I would do if I was Detroit.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You could do that. I mean, they don't have any retention slots. The only thing is that they're gonna gain about $1 million and change after this offseason, because Justin Abdelkader's dead cap comes off after this upcoming season.
Still got dead cap there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's dead cap there, man.
That's
Damn.
insane.
Crazy to think about, but there is. If you go down on cap wages, their buyout history shows.
After this upcoming season, that's what.
Yeah.
Next season too, he's on the books.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2025-26. He's on the books for 1.055 million.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Because
But they have a ton of cap space to work with. You know what? Who's another guy? Speaking of Detroit, that he could get bought out. Justin Hall.
I was about to mention him.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was gonna bring that guy up
they have a lot of guys. Ben Sherratt could be bought out. Justin Hall. Gustafson's not a buyout candidate, but like that's a contract that you probably should move to free up a little bit extra cap space. Tarasenko, Comfer, Kopp. That team is full of shit contracts.
Hall's buyout is even easier than Tarasenko's because he's 1.133 for 2 years. So, I mean, they save 2.226 million next year, and then they have a dead cap of 1.13, the following year. So it's not. It actually kind of works out for them if they buy him out, because I don't know who's gonna trade for a 33-year-old defenseman that's not good in his own zone. And the eye test and the analytics tell you he's both shit.
Yeah, and same goes for. Let me see Ben Sherratt's buyout too, because that's another just like garbage contract. Ben Sherratt, they would save 2.8 million on this year, and that would be 1.4 spending for the year after.
I feel like Sherratt, they would keep him just because they want that physical presence and that leadership. And that gets a little overrated, if you ask me. But
for one more year, it's not the worst.
What's that?
For one more year, it's not the worst thing you're saying.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And you could deal with him for a year. But Justin Hall doesn't give you anything.
No.
He's not overly physical for a big defenseman. He's not good in his own zone. He doesn't give you anything offensively. Like, what's the point of keeping that guy?
I never understood the contract in the first place.
That's another fucking story.
That's why the question today in layup talk when Mark was like, "Who's under more pressure, Yzerman or Kevin Adams?" I thought it was an easy layup. It's Steve Yzerman.
That's what I said.
At least Kevin Adams. Like, Kevin Adams, we know he's shit. There's no expectation in Buffalo.
Not only that, but the Pegulas love him for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they love him. So, I mean, he's never going to be on the hot seat with them. No, I mean, I think the only way that he gets put on the hot seat is if he does something irredeemably bad, like in front office, or he gets into an off-ice scandal.
I don't know. He's done some pretty bad stuff already. So.
I mean,
yeah, the Eichel trade to begin with is a
the Eichel trade was bad enough. How has he not gone after that?
I don't know.
That, I mean, Reinhart even now, I get that Reinhart was kind of like a situation where he improved in Florida, but I think Reinhart honestly would have improved anywhere. Would he have got to this level anywhere else but Florida? Probably not, but he still would have improved being on another team outside of Buffalo.
I mean, he was a high pick for a reason.
Yeah, like just looking at Buffalo's roster, it's weird how they're this bad though. Like that's the thing that's strange to me. Like just looking at some of these contracts, like Jordan Greenway, what are you doing giving that guy $4 million a year? That's a weird contract. The Jason Zucker contract is terrible.
I don't know.
And then I remember too when they had Taylor Hall for the year.
They're so bad with these contracts.
I remember when they had Taylor Hall for the year as well. I don't remember. Was he struggling to produce in Buffalo?
He was really bad there, yeah.
Yeah, he was. I was just looking.
He was really bad there.
Because I remember they got peanuts from him at the deadline. He like lapped his point per.
He went to Boston and then
lapped his goal total in half the amount of games.
And he was really like when I think when the Boston played the Islanders, he was like really like the only one that really like did anything.
Yeah, and again, just another botch asset there by Kevin Adams.
That's why I said immediately that the one that's really under pressure is
It's Yzerman.
Yzerman. It's
Yeah.
absolutely Yzerman. Not only that, but when you get the word Iser plan thrown around as much as it has been, it's kind of hard to say that Kevin Adams is under more pressure at that point. I mean, but then again, by design.
Well, Yzerman's also
I just-
trying to have the task of bringing a title back to where he was. Like, that's the other part of it, too.
You know what? I feel bad for Yzerman in a way because Ken Holland absolutely just fucked everything up in Detroit. Like that team should have started rebuilding after like 2012. Like they just kept going and going, and they tried to push everything that they could out of Datsuk and Zetterberg. And when Datsuk retired, that should have been it.
And you know what? And I'm not saying that's going to exactly happen the way it is, but this could be an exact carbon copy of what's happening in Boston right now. Because they could go through a long stretch where they don't make the playoffs because they have a ton of that team has a ton of terrible contracts on that roster too.
That in Pittsburgh, which man, you have to be sick to enjoy watching Pittsburgh miss the playoffs. I guess I'm on Marksy Bowles at that point.
Yeah, I guess that means that I am on my deathbed. I mean, I've dealt with the Pittsburgh Penguins for over 30 years. I mean, I was young enough to remember Mario Lemieux absolutely torching them. And then Jaromir Jagr and Rick Tocchet and Kevin Stevens, a young Sean McEachran, Larry Murphy, Ulf Samuelson, Tom Barrasso. Like, I remember all of those guys. I remember Sergei Zubov going there, and that absolutely crushed me because that deal sucked and set the Rangers back about 10 years.
Pittsburgh's decor is so many terrible. I mean, you still have Carlson locked up for 2 more years at $10 million. You have a 38-year-old Letang locked up for 6.1 at 3 more years.
Why they gave him and Malkin those deals, I'll never understand.
And then
there were two clearly declining players that just were obviously in the twilight of their careers that had injury problems, that the players just were not the same. And they went and they gave them those massive deals. Like, what were you thinking?
And then you have Ryan Graves at 4.5 for 4 more years.
Oh,
and then you had that Tristan Jarry contract at 5.375 for 3 more years.
Oh yeah, this is something to be afraid of too. Because when Mario Lemieux gets back, they'll do something to rig that draft again for them.
I thought they were gonna win this year just because it's them.
No, because this is the year where there's no consensus. There's
next
no generational
year.
talent. Pittsburgh will the next generational talent's McKenna, and they'll probably win it next year. They're going to be terrible, and they'll probably win it next year. Watch.
And it was our. Oh no, it's not going to be our pick, but
it's not going to be the Rangers pick. Definitely not. But it'll be their own pick.
If it is our pick, I'll be very pissed off.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the Rangers. I think the Rangers will be a better team than they were this year. Jesus. I know that it's hard to see that at this point, but I just think that the changes that they're making already things are going to change. I have a feeling you could disagree. That's fine.
My opinion on it is I think that they'll make the playoffs next year just because 1, the East is bad, and 2, like you're saying, a lot of things just went wrong that I don't think will go wrong again next year. But I just don't. I have to see it to believe it, to see that they'll actually do something in the playoffs. That's more the problem.
No, I understand. I would agree with you there.
I think they'll improve. I don't think they'll be as bad as this year, but still, I could see them being a fringe playoff team where they barely miss it and then just barely make it too. But I don't think they do anything in the playoffs. I think they'll be an early first round exit at best.
The thing that's going their way next year is that the Metro is garbage outside of Carolina. To me, there's no playoff lock in the Metro outside of Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Jersey.
Yeah. and that's a maybe
That's
Yeah.
I mean,
because they're always injured.
everybody talks about Washington and what Washington did in Carberry, but like Spencer Carberry had the benefit of a lot of players having unsustainable and years that are not replicable. Like if you look up and down that lineup, their guys all have like massive years in the shooting percentage column. And that PDO is a real thing. I saw it with the 2016 Rangers, and they regressed big time. And I'm telling you, Washington is a major regression candidate next year. Major regression candidate.
Yeah,
Alex Ovechkin, how is he going to be now that he's got the record? Dylan Strome giving you 82 points again? And maybe at some point, but next year, I have trouble seeing it. Ovechkin, 44 goals in 65 games, which is a career high of 18.6 shooting percentage. Dylan Strome, 19.5 shooting percentage. Alexei Protas, 30 goals in 76 games. Do you want to know what he shot? 21.1%. Tom Wilson, career year, 33 goals, 65 points. What did he shoot? 19.5%.
Holiday season.
Hell, Nick Dowd, 16.3 shooting percentage on 14 goals in 82 games. What did not go right for them? What did not go right?
And I like Chikrin, but he's not scoring 20 goals again next year either.
You know what? That's the one guy that may be able to replicate something like that.
He'll replicate the point total, but I don't think he's scoring 20 goals again.
Well, do you remember his 2021 season? I mean, he would have put up 20 goals that year. He had 18 in 56 games. And he shot
about that. That's true.
He shot 10.2%. Like that he would have had like 70 points that year and like 25 to 30 goals.
That's true.
I'll never forget Evan's PDO Kings eliminated tweet.
Yeah, and celebration.
Now, all right, Carson, I agree with you here, but here's the difference between someone like Chris Kreider and someone like Alexander Ovechkin, who's a volume shooter. Chris Kreider is a guy that got a lot of those goals on deflections in front. So all of his chances and all of his shots are typically high danger. So yes, everything went right. He was getting all the right deflections, the right places, the right times that year. But there's a difference between a guy like that, where all of his chances come from the slot area, and a guy that's shooting from the outside and shooting at, exactly. I mean, is it fake? Yeah, it's sort of fake.
It was fake, yeah.
In a way.
A lot of it was from the power play, though, too. That was the other.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of that is power play. And that's the only reason why I thought Kreider could replicate another 35-goal season, maybe 40 in the future, because of the fact that if the power play runs as well as it did for that time, then, yeah, you can get that out of a guy like that. I mean, Hyman, same shit. McDavid, Merchant. I mean, you guys are too young for Matt Molson. But Matt Molson was a John Tavares merchant that was getting all of his chances the same way. Or if I could give you a better comparable that's more recent, 2017 Anders Lee. 40-goal guy. Where were all his goals coming from? The slot. You know, it's easier to have a higher shooting percentage when all of your shots are coming from that high danger area. Like if you're a volume shooter like Ovechkin, who's shooting from everywhere, the fact that he shot 18%, which is a career high from his previous, I think, was 15.4. That's phenomenal. That's insane. That's all-time level shooting right there. He would have easily had like 55 goals had he played the full season. So, but again, regression candidate. He's going to be 40 in September.
Yeah, and it could be his last season. I know that there's been like conflicting reports about that, but if this is like a farewell tour, it's just like, you know, we'll see how that goes. Outside of that, though, like the only other team, just to get back to the main point here, that I could see being a threat for the playoffs in the Metro is Columbus next year because they're a team on the rise. And it's going to be intriguing to see what they do this offseason. But that's another thing. I have to see what they do this offseason before I could say they will make the playoffs. Outside of that, the Islanders, Flyers, and Penguins are going to be in the basement. So
I don't know if the Islanders are a basement team.
I think they're going to have 1 year, one more bad year until they're back, like being in that kind of status. I don't know.
I think they finish where kind of around where they were. They're not good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not bad enough to be a complete cellar dweller.
See, I was
unless injuries hit them again.
I was kind of referring to that as the basement. I think they're going to be in that tier again. So,
yeah, I wouldn't say that's a basement. I think, I mean, to me, that's purgatory.
Yeah, that's fair. Bottom 3 or 4 team in the Metro, though, for sure.
Okay, in the Metro, yeah. In the conference, no.
Buffalo will still be worse.
Buffalo's still going to be
bad.
Boston's going to be worse.
Boston, yeah. I mean, who the fuck's going to play center for them?
Casey Middlestat
is going to be their number 1 center.
Yeah, Elias Lindholm and Casey Middlestat.
They might trade Middlestat. There's rumor going around that they might trade him. Like, how dumb can you be to deal Coyle for him and then go and trade him away without even giving him time?
It's Don Sweeney for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's another dumbass there.
Yeah, I don't know how he still has a job. I don't. And they extended him too?
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Woof. I'd be so pissed if I was a Bruins fan.
That team, just looking at their roster right now. Yeah.
It's not good. They traded away a lot of their guys. I don't know if Brad Marchand goes there.
I wonder when it really gets to the point where guys like McAvoy and Pasta just request out.
Yeah.
Tell you right now, Pasta requests out. That's a fucking bidding war.
Yeah.
McAvoy too. I mean, his salary is a little high, but
9.5 for what he is not bad at all.
Yeah,
no, and that's the thing, because he can give you 50 points while giving you top end defensive play. Yeah, I know a Swedish-born stud who could play center for them too.
David Pastrnak is somehow going to end up on Vegas, and we're all going to like it.
Yeah,
with Mitch Marner too.
That clip from the 2023 deadline stream of me being like, "What the fuck?" again, or whatever I said when Vegas ended up getting Hurdle. That's going to be me again. Great, can't wait for that.
If Vegas is serious about this whole pursuing Marner thing, I would like the Rangers to potentially acquire William Karlsson. I really would like that. I know the cap hit's a little high, but the fact that they're going to give him away for basically free, I would take him.
It's only 5.9 for 2 more years, and he's only 32, so it's not a bad cap. I mean,
not a bad deal, but I have some serious concerns about him.
I mean, look. The only thing is, like, okay, like Vegas is going to give him away for free, right? I mean, like, from Drury's perspective, you have to win in a short amount of time, and the fact that it's only a 2-year deal, like, I could see him making sense. I do like Karlsson as a player. I think he's a very.
I have concerns. I really do. Like his 2 best years were, again, insanely high shooting percentage years, and then everything else and like that kind of reverted to like and regressed to the mean is really kind of more indicative of what the player he really is. I don't think you're getting that 30-30-60 player, and you're definitely not getting that 43 and 78 player. That's a 23.4 shooting percentage. That's not happening.
The thing that I like about him, though, is that he is good on both. He's solid on both ends.
He's a good two-way guy.
He's a good two-way guy. That's what I like about
He
him.
is a good two-way guy. I do agree there. You bring him in to be a third-line center, okay. 5.9, I think, is a little high for a third-line center.
They're paying Trocheck for $5.6 million, and he was going to be the third-line center if Hedl stayed healthy. So, $300K, it's not really that big of a difference.
Yeah, but Trocheck is a guy that's had 70 points before as well. He also had 60 points in what everybody considered a down. He had actually 50 points in a year in which Panarin wasn't really doing a whole lot, and Lafreniere did really kind of nothing after November. I mean, I get where you're coming from with that, but at the same time, I don't know. I think I trust Trocheck to kind of replicate his numbers and bounce back. I mean, he had 59 points this year and 26 goals. And he had 6 shorthanded, which is really good. So I trust him to bounce back. I think he could be a 65 to 70 point center again next year if he's the number 2 center.
I hope, because he had a terrible year for me this year.
He was only 1 point away from 60, but I do agree.
It's not for me. Yeah,
it's not the numbers. You're right.
It's not the numbers. If you actually watched him play, he didn't have a good year.
He played like a dumbass with the puck. He absolutely did, and I've said that several times. I agree. But if that's him playing like a dumbass and his two-way play kind of drops off a cliff because the whole line doesn't want to play any lick of defense whatsoever, I am more than okay with betting on him to bounce back. He's still young enough to the point where he's absolutely a bounce back candidate. He's 31? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, and that's what I was just saying, Carson. His defense was not good, but I think that was part of it was because the 2 guys on his line just couldn't be bothered to play defense. And you can't have that. And that's why I'm with Evan on if you can get rid of Artemi Panarin, move him. That. You can't have a guy like that influencing your young players. You can't.
Well, that's the thing too. Even though I like William Karlsson, I think it's more realistic if you actually are trying to build a deeper team first, and you can move guys like Panarin and Zibanejad's not happening, but in a pipe dream, you could move him. Then it makes a little more sense to do it. That's the only problem I'll say on that.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree here with you, Chris G. But
I agree with that, but it's also just because that's part of why I want them to target a guy like Rossi potentially. Yeah. But I don't know who you could get for a 2C role that will give you good production at a friendly cap hit other than maybe Rossi, who's looking to get 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I really don't. I just there's not a lot of options available. But then again, there's always some trades that pop up in the offseason, and you look at it, and you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah, I mean, the Ryan McLeod one for me, that was a prime example.
That was out of nowhere. And the fact that Buffalo went, I mean, yeah, I think that's a pipe dream, John. I really do. I think McTavish is – I don't think he's going anywhere. I really don't. I think Anaheim is going to re-sign him. I think unless he, absolutely wants out, I don't see how he's not re-signed.
If Anaheim's trading away one of their young centers, it's Zegras, because they're not moving on from Gauthier. They're not moving on from McTavish.
I don't want Zegras.
No, me neither. But I'm just saying for them.
I don't think Zegras is going to get moved. Actually, he's really good friends with Kreider.
Apparently, it might be Troy Terry they're moving. Which
Troy Terry might be.
Report. I would absolutely take a look at that.
So Mason McTavish, AFP Analytics is giving you two options if you scroll over it on cap wages. They're saying a bridge deal of 3 years, 3.983. Or if you go 6, you go long term, 6.672. 6.772, sorry. Oh, I mean, if I'm Anaheim, I'm giving them that long-term deal. And I don't think he really has the numbers yet. I mean, 52 points is a nice year, but I don't think he has the numbers yet to demand 8 or above. But that last comment from Carson. God, I'm not gonna highlight that, but it's funny.
It's gonna. I mean, at least
Yeah, he's gone. He's
That-
gone.
yeah,
DeAndre Miller is gone.
once the thing came out that Sullivan doesn't want him, it's over.
You know what? I'm not sure if that is the case or not. That Sullivan doesn't want him. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. I really kind of had a hard time believing they would leak that, but this organization has done dumber shit. So I'm not gonna say that it's out of the realm of possibility by any means. But I definitely think, and I've been saying this for a while, that I think this organization is hesitant to give him that long-term deal. And they want to move it now and get on it so they can actually get something back for it, which is great because they're improving on the mistake that they made with Capo Caco.
Yeah. Yeah, that's at least a positive of it. It's just like, again, that whole left side is terrible. This whole decor outside of Fox is terrible.
That's what concerns me. And that's why I think that once that happens, they're going to go throw the bag at Gavrikov. And that contract is going to be a contract that they're going to regret.
Gonna age well. No.
I mean, for the first 3-4 years, maybe he works out really well for them and he plays great for them. But the back end of that contract is not going to age well.
And again, I got hate on that for a tweet I put out because again, people don't know how to read on Twitter because I said, listen, it's nothing against Gavrikov. I like Gavrikov as a player, but that contract is going to be a waste in a couple of years.
I don't know about a couple, but definitely down the road that has a lot of potential to be bad.
I mean, minimum 5 years. You can see that contract going bad, but still, like the problem with me is like, okay, fine. Like, listen, I could deal with the second half of a contract being bad if that player is going to elevate the team to make them even better towards, winning a championship. Okay, Gavrikov improves them, but does he take them to the next level of being a cup contender? No. But I understand that they're in such a tough timetable now because, again, you extended Igor to that stupid fucking deal. So now you're in a tight space where you have to do as many desperate contracts as you can to try and make this team a cup contender. And, again, I don't see them being that. So it's just, again, and I don't want to keep repeating it, but it's true.
100 shots blocked plus in each of the last 4 seasons, and that's part of what worries me. He only had 50 hits this year, which is kind of low. I mean, he had 124 in Columbus in 21-22 and hasn't eclipsed 75 cents. That's crazy. Like to have a player that blocks that many shots but doesn't throw hits. Yeah, John, you've DM'd me and brought up that name, Nick Hague.
I do not want Hague. I want nothing to do with Hague.
I don't know if I like his skating.
He's way too similar to the garbage we already have here. I'll pass on that.
He's better than Soucy. He's definitely better than Soucy.
I don't know. He's pretty bad.
I don't think he's that good, but he's definitely better than Soucy. I'll tell you that. Soucy Soucy's got to be one of the 3 worst defensemen in the entire NHL.
And we give up a 3rd-round pick for that.
Haig is pretty bad though. Like it's, I don't know. To me, it's you're upgrading from diarrhea to solid shit. Like that's really all it is at that point, because he's not good at all. Just looking, if you look at the numbers, every single pair he was on in Vegas, he dragged down.
Yeah.
Every one.
Again, I'm not. If there's anybody on Vegas that I'd want, it's Nick Roy. It's Nick Waugh.
Yeah, I like Nick Roy. And Nick Roy, yeah.
That's the guy that I would want from Vegas. You want a 3rd-line center? There's your guy. They're not dealing him though.
No.
I'm not a big fan of Haig though. I don't think he's that good. I don't. I think he's better than Soucy. That is not saying much. It's not. No, don't you. Shut up. Stop. God damn, Carson. Oh.
Koishi's 7x7. With a full no movement clause.
Fucking nosedive out my window if that fucking happens. That would be terrible.
Just to put in the perspective, by the way, how bad Haig is, just looking at, I know that there's context left out with some of the expected goals against per 60 numbers, but just looking at it right now, Vegas out of there, this is filtered with 65 minutes played together, and 3 out of the bottom 4 of their worst pairs in expected goals against per 60 minutes had Haig on it. It was
listen,
Haig and Hannafin, Haig, Whitecloud, Haig, Pietrangelo.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying he's better than Soucy. That's all I'm saying.
If he can't put up respectable numbers with Pietrangelo or Hannafin, there is not a chicken shit's chance he's putting up good numbers with Will Borgen.
Oh, jeez. I just saw this tweet that just popped up in my timeline. And it says it's reposting the NHL Rumor Report tweet from Saravalli, where it says there's more smoke than fire when it comes to Rangers defenseman Keandre Miller. This person tweets, "Notice how everyone is begging for their team to get him. That's because he shouldn't be traded right now. Do you hear me, Chris Drury?" No, that doesn't mean that.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I just don't understand it. Yeah, I think a retired Mark Stahl probably is better than Carson Soucy. I think I would rather bring back Larry Robinson and have him play over Carson Soucy. And Larry Robinson has been out of the league for almost 35 years now. Actually, 34, sorry.
Let's bring back Wade Redden.
Kelly's comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't put the graphic up right now.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's just, I don't know. I feel like the Miller trade's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna be Buffalo. I
still don't see it. I don't see why Buffalo would want to add another left shot defenseman.
So their left side depth right now, as it speaks,
they have Darlene, Power, and then Byram's gonna go.
But Power also is not happy.
Well, that's the thing. If they're moving Power, then
I would move Miller for Power in a second.
I would move a lot of pieces for Power. I think Power would be ideally your long-term fix to play with Adam Fox.
Yeah, and that's the guy that you would want.
And I would rather that contract than Gavrikov by a country mile.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't think twice about it. Samuelson is somebody that is kind of overpaid. He's also a left shot D. Connor Clifton is a right shot, but he's no, and I get what you're saying with left shots, but I feel like they could move two of those left side defensemen this offseason. And that's where I think Miller would come in.
I just am trying to think of other suitors too. Like that's really what the other thing is. 'Cause I don't know. I mean, for me though, I would just pick up the phone with Buffalo and do everything to move with a package of Schneider, one or two prospects and picks to get power here.
I would do that too. I mean,
or if you want to make it a bigger deal, I would headline Schneider, Lafreniere, Othman, and then some picks to try and get power and
Paterka. Yeah, I could do that. I could definitely do that. No, McDonough's not coming back. I know that's probably sarcastic, but it's not helping anything. His cap hit's too high for what he is at this point. I know you're laughing at Carson's comment.
Yeah,
I can see it. But yeah, it just I don't know. I got a feeling that he is going to be aggressive. I do. I just it would be an all-time stupid move to bring in Sullivan and then not retool the roster. And not all in one off season. That's hard, but just start making the moves. I can't not see it, especially after he identified that the core couldn't win. And he's tried to get these guys out of here. Like, I can't see it. I can't.
For me, it's more about it ties back to the conversation we've had all stream is who is he replacing everyone with? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That might be the hard part is actually finding the players to replace them with. But I mean,
that also again ties back to the conversation about overpaying the goaltender which Father Time's going to catch him at some point. It takes a while to find the right mix at times. And that's what I worry about is how long is it going to take to find the right mix?
That's why I hate that contract. You cannot give a guy that was going to turn 30 the start of that contract 7, 8 years to be in a Lundqvist situation, because even with the cap going up, that deal is going to be complete dog shit for at least the last 3 years of it.
Yeah.
If not more, depending on, I mean, and with the way that his seasons have gone since 21-22, like, there's no convincing me that it's an absolute lock that he's consistent all the way through that deal until like year 6 or 7. There's no way you can convince me of that. And then once he starts to decline, you have an $11.5 million goalie
with a full no move.
With a full no move. And not only that, but even if he waives that no move,
who's taking
how
him?
many teams are going to be interested in that type of asset?
No one. You would have to retain half that contract if you wanted to move it.
And you're doing that for 2 years. And even at that point, Carson's right about that. He's not, and I don't want to continue to beat this to death, but it's just, you're right. That contract does prohibit him from making these moves. Because if you don't have that contract on the books, or if you paid him like Hellebuck or something close to Hellebuck, then maybe you have a bit more space to be able to make some of these moves.
To fill in the margins at least, yeah. Just like, that's the other thing too of why I was against the Miller trade as well. It's like, it wasn't the player. It was just always, to me, the timeline does not make sense here. It's like, we should be trying to get younger. And I get that you need to reshape how the locker room is and everything. But to me, they just should have gone a younger direction. And that's really what it comes down to. I get that it was unrealistic and it wasn't going to happen. But That's why I was against that and the Igor extensions, because it's like you're shrinking the window to where you have to win in 2 or 3 years, and it might take that alone to find the right mix,
Yeah, and
let alone
and
win.
again, we criticize the team for rushing the rebuild. Now you're going to be rushing a whole entire retool with a much older group, and again, you don't have much time because you have a ticking time bomb on that terrible contract. It's just, again, there was no need to force themselves into a corner, and they forced themselves into a corner. I don't know what
Yeah,
that
I mean,
rebuild-
at least the Miller deal, I understand it because they needed an upgrade at center. But at the same time, the other thing for me was that Filipino's like one concussion away from like
It wasn't the
retire.
trade itself. No, the Rangers clearly came out on top in terms of what they gave up. That I'm not mad about. It's just,
Yeah.
again, like timeline wise, I just didn't think it made sense to bring in Miller. This should have been done years ago. They should have just gave up Schneider years ago to
21,
get it done.
22 is when they should have done it, but it
Yep.
would have cost them more back then.
They didn't want to give up Schneider, and they should have. They should have just gave up Schneider to get it done.
I don't know why Schneider was regarded as such a
Go King.
hashtag. The hashtag. Oh my god. Good night, Kaylee. We're gonna wrap this up soon. We're probably gonna go another 5 minutes, and we're gonna wrap
Is
it
this
up.
a mark 5 minutes, or is this an actual 5 minutes?
An actual 5 minutes. It is. All right. So you know what? We'll go to 150. We'll 8 minutes. We'll end it on an even number.
Mark says 5 minutes, and then 2.5 hours pass.
2.5. But the hashtag just cracks me up because it's literally what Twitter is. Mark counts time in dog years. Oh,
Mark.
oh God.
Mark even catching strays, even though he's not here.
Mark, I think Mark counts in Siberian time. He fucking definitely counts in Siberian time.
We need for the draft stream. We need another drunk Mark appearance.
Oh my God. Oh man.
The 2023 draft stream was just too good.
He just wow. Drunk Mark is something else, man. He is just he's unbelievable. He is. He really is.
Drunk layup talk is needed.
Drunk talk.
Gosh. Laugh in the bag, but it's by design. Like, can you imagine?
Oh, let me go to you on this one. Do the Rangers want to make the playoffs next season?
Oh man.
God damn
love
it.
No,
God
Mark.
damn
They
it,
actually brought
Anthony.
in Mike Sullivan to lose. A slam drunk, yeah.
Yeah, I just about to highlight that.
God damn it, Anthony. You got me again with the name.
Yeah, that. Oh God, yeah.
Mark is the Michael Jordan of drunk live streams.
Oh, yeah. I guess John is trying to ask here. Do we come on live when the Rangers decide to do with the draft?
Oh, he's saying if they.
Yeah,
if they
when they
defer
make the decision. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he's asking.
I feel like that's something that might just get brought up more on
Draft night. Yeah.
Yeah. just because it's like there's not really much to unpack other than
Oh,
if they're keeping the pick, it's probably going to be for an offer sheet. Like that's really all there is to unpack there, and we won't know until later on.
Mark is the Angel Reese of layups.
that one too, but this one right here just takes the cake. Oh my God. Oh jeez. Me bounds, yeah. The Angel Reese of layups.
Now, remember what I said to you, Dave? He's not the Angel Reese because he actually makes the layups. That's the difference. He's efficient with them.
Layup efficiency 100%.
100% efficiency in layups.
The Knicks could have used that in the playoffs.
Yeah. He's like Sex Panther with layup efficiency. 60% of the time works 100% of the time. Oh man. I love Mark, but it just he is just he 3-point show shot.
What the fuck is that comment from New York Sewer Kid?
Oh god. I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Mark pronounces and spells names like Scott Steiner does math. Oh man, if you guys are not familiar with that one, look that one up. Oh, the Scott Steiner math promos are incredible. Incredible. It's probably one of the most memes of like all time. It's the gift that keeps giving. But yeah, I think we'll do something more along those lines on draft night about what they're doing with that pick. I think they're keeping it this year and they're going to bank on being better next year.
I don't think they're going to keep it. I think they're going to defer the pick because I think they're going to move that pick in an offer sheet.
I don't know if they can.
Plus,
really
I really think that a lot of it depends, and this is why it goes back to the conversation that we had a couple weeks ago. They got to trade Keandre Miller before that time frame because if you get a first in the Miller deal, then you could give up the first to Pittsburgh this year without having like any hesitancy.
Yeah, but who are they offer sheeting?
Either Peterka or Rossi, maybe.
So they offer sheet Peterka and then they go and make another deal with Buffalo for Power or Byram?
Essentially. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get Byram. That's the thing.
I mean,
that's why I think they're going to. I think Peterka and Gavrikov are the most likely. I don't know if they're going to get 2 left shot defensemen.
I don't think they get Jason Robertson. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
And I think that if Keandre Miller was a right side defenseman, I think they would be one of the leading teams for Jason Robertson.
Should just move Schneider. Just move Schneider, please.
The one thing with the Peterka offer sheet, and I agree with Steven on this, that he brought this up, that I don't think Peterka is going to want to sign an offer sheet just because Buffalo would have the chance to match it. And if it's a matchable offer and he doesn't want to stay in Buffalo, he doesn't want to sign that. He doesn't want to sign that offer sheet. So, like I said, I think the Rangers might offer it, but that's down to Peterka. And like if what Steven said adds up, then yeah, Peterka's not signing that offer sheet.
Or the other thing that they could do, which would go on the lines of them. I mean, either one could work. Maybe if they get a first for Keandre Miller, they use that pick, whether they keep it or defer it. Maybe they use those 2 picks to move up in the draft.
This is actually a really good question. Because it seems like that's where it's going to go.
Criteria.
Yeah.
If it works to get Eichel, the Boston connection, then
hopefully that's what they're banking on, and they can somehow get Eichel. Maybe I don't think they're going to end up with McDavid. I'll tell you that right now. Although I think tonight actually helped their chances of that a little bit. I think he gets closer to free agency, but then again, maybe they come back next year. Maybe they fix the goaltending, and maybe they get back to the finals for a 3rd year in a row. And Florida's finally worn out, and they can't three-peat. So,
For me, I really hope that no one in that free agency class next year extends before they enter free agency, because I want to see that free agency class load up as much as possible.
Yeah, I do too.
Because July 1st would just be insane.
Unfortunately, playing pretend only gets you so far.
So, but yeah, it's 1:50. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for coming on with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll be doing our mock draft on Monday, and then there's streams for draft night 1, and free agent frenzy to look out for. So
the draft night stream. Are we doing that together, or that's gonna be? Because I'm not.
I gotta talk to Mark about that because I didn't ask him for sure.
Okay.
I think he wants to. So, but I definitely I have to check with him. So even if even if we're not doing it together, I mean they if you guys have your stream, we have our stream. I don't know, but I do know that Mark did express some sort of interest in it previously. So let me talk to
He's
him.
kicking the tires on it.
Kicking the tires. Yeah, so we'll have that mock draft definitely on Monday, this upcoming Monday. And then, the draft is not this Friday, but next Friday. And then there's also free agent frenzy on the 1st. So, but a lot of content to look forward to. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, not only for us, but for Rangers Central and for Satboy Stevens' channel with him and the Philippies. So, definitely, help out everybody in the Rangers and the hockey content community here, because we do a lot of work here for you guys. I think this stream is evidence enough. 2.5 hours, and we're still almost going at almost 2 o'clock in the freaking morning. So definitely like, share, and subscribe, and spread the word and the love. And thank you all for coming on and watching. Thank you to Matt and Evan. Thank you to Steven. We will see you guys later. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.